What's going on, ACL Nation? It's time for another episode of ACL Live. You see, I got K9 here as usual, bringing in a special guest, Jake Brannon. He's going to be doing the commentary this weekend as we head up to Tiverton, Rhode Island, or Tiverton, depending on how you want to pronounce it, Jake. I'll just let you decide when you're up there. I've heard both ways, man, so I don't know which one's right, but I'm pretty sure it's
Yeah.
Tiverton.
Yeah, I'm more of a Tiverton kind of guy myself, personally.
All right. So, yeah, we're going to have some fun this weekend. Tonight's episode, we're going to go through a top 5 singles list and top 5 doubles list for each of us and talk a little bit about what we expect to see this weekend. I'll be heading out to Wisconsin, so Jake and Chase will be running the live feeds. Before we get into it, though, man, how are things going with you?
Man, they've been good. I'm living the dream. We're right in the thick of things on the ACL College Cornets Tailgate Tour. Just finished stop number 7 in Cincinnati, Ohio. So it's actually like a really hectic week for me because I wasn't planning on coming to Tiverton at all, but I looked at the schedule. So this week for the college tour, we're at the Louisville,
Okay.
which is a Thursday night game. So I'm actually working it out. So I'm flying from Baltimore to Louisville on Wednesday. I do the game on Thursday, come back early Friday morning, and then immediately I catch a flight from Baltimore up to Providence to do the Open on Friday morning as well, and then I'll come back Sunday night. So it's going to be a hectic couple of days, but I couldn't be more excited. I always
Yeah.
love going up to Rhode Island. It's always one of the better Opens of the year. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I believe last year we were breaking records up there. According to the sign-up sheets that we kind of went through, I don't think we're going to break those same records this year. I know there was a really large women's field and a really large seniors field. So I'm going to be curious to see if those records are matched. I mean, I know there's going to be a lot of space. Last year, I think we had probably 2 or 3 soccer fields and then the basketball courts. I think this year we're getting everything. So the whole facility should be a pretty cool venue. If it's the same place, I believe it is, as last
Yeah, it
year.
is.
We had a
Yep.
lot of fun up there. But yeah, I think it's going to be a really, really good time up there in Tiverton if it's anything like it was last year for me.
Oh yeah, I can't wait. Always one of my favorite venues, like the turf field. They had the basketball courts next door, and we're always we have time and we're always shooting some hoops over there. That's always a lot of fun. So I'm excited.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. The setup last year, man, we were like right in the middle of everything. So
Yeah.
had I believe Joe and some other people hop on the mic with me. It was a lot of fun. So hopefully, as we kind of make this transition into this open and then going forward in the next season, we're gonna hopefully start putting 2-man crews in the commentary booth, stuff like that. So Chase will be doing a lot of the producing. If you guys watched a lot of the nationals, you noticed that Chase was doing a really, really good job there with Jacob Schranz and Joey on the microphones for, I believe it was court 3.
Hmm.
But then now we're going to kind of have him hop in the open tour. He'll be pushing the buttons, and Jake will be commentating pretty much this weekend. Still got
Heck yeah.
sponsorship spots available. If anybody's interested in sponsoring this weekend, make sure you reach out to me. We'll be glad to get your logo on the live feeds and do whatever we can to make it happen and have some fun with it. But I think for the most part, man, I've had a good time these first couple of opens. Going back to the first 2, man, I know you've been watching from home. What do you think about them so
Yeah.
far?
Oh man, dude, they've been a blast. I had the opportunity to go to the first one in Rock Hill. Pairing that with the draft was probably one of the craziest and most
Yep.
fun weekends of cornhole we've had in a long time. Getting to see almost all the pros there, as well as some of the top tier elite level players, advanced players as well, doing battle against everybody. It was a lot of fun. I'm really excited to kick it towards Tiverton and then on to Memphis and then Richmond and then Myrtle Beach. We got a whole bunch of I'm slated in the next couple of weeks. Man, I cannot wait to catch some of this action. Uh,
Don't
I'm
forget about
excited to take
Australia,
it.
man. I mean, I know you're not going, but I'll be out there.
I know, man. I'm so jealous,
Yeah.
dude. That's one of my bucket list items. Always wanted to go to Australia, but no, I'm so excited to take a look at the rookie class this year. See what they got up their sleeve. It's gonna be a fun next couple of weeks, couple of months.
I mean, we always say like the rookie class is better than, each year. It's getting better. This is the best rookie class. I actually legit think this is the best rookie class we could have had.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the big names are finally here. Sammy Soto, Ryan Trader,
Yep.
Jeremiah Ellis. I mean, a lot of the people that we were looking out for, we're waiting for Caden Allen and Austin Cameron to be of age. So they're all here. Now it's time for them to shine. I mean, if you actually go back and you do that draft without considering them, all the keepers and stuff like that, I still think a majority of those rookies still go in the first round. So
No,
on our
absolutely.
show Wednesday, we're going to do bagging and bragging. Michelle and I, we're going to go through our top 25 projections of how we think 25 players are going to finish, like the top 25. I got a lot of
Okay.
rookies. Spoiler alert: I got a lot
Yeah.
of rookies in there. I mean,
No, I mean
Ryan
this rookie,
Trader.
this rookie Yeah, this rookie
Killing it.
class is awesome, and we also had the opportunity to take a look at the rookie showcase
Yep.
at the first open of the year. I mean, and then some of these pros that you didn't rookies that you didn't even name are starting to soar through the power rankings. We got players like Logan Hall, Jawan Smith, who
Yep.
did absolutely fantastic at the rookie showcase. Just goes to show the potential that this rookie class has, and I'm really excited to see what happens when they get onto the boards in significant and real matches.
Yeah, I got a chance to play this last weekend against Terrell Maxey. He really shined at Open number one. I got a chance to
Yeah.
see it firsthand. I mean, dude's solid. He's on Facebook bragging about how I shot against him, but no, he put me in my place, man. Like I had a couple good shots that were like really really hard to hit, and he was like, "There ain't no way Wally just did that to me." But he's one player I'm gonna kind of keep my eye on through this season. But
Oh yeah.
all right, chat. We're going to head to our first break. Do me a favor, put in the chat who you guys want us to watch out for, either in singles, doubles, women's, juniors, team events, whatever you want to see this weekend. Go ahead and put it in the chat and let us know. We'll take a break. We'll be right back and we'll get right into it. See you in a few. All right, chat. We're back. Thank you guys for participating in the chat. I want to say hello to Heather. She says hello to us. John Brandon in there as well. Derek wants us to keep an eye on for Brady Foster and Frank Verona. I mean, two guys that I had in my first round of the draft, and I think they
Yep.
both went first round, right?
Yeah.
If I'm not
Yep.
mistaken. So yeah, keep an eye out on them. Canoe wants us to look out for Gavin and KB. Brian says Eddie and Caleb. We'll kind of take a look at our list here in a little bit and see if any of them have made it. Keep out for the youngsters in the Northeast: Brady Foster, Nick Patuski, Frank Verona. So yeah, all those players on the radar, man. It's your first time on the show. So as your official, I guess, opening, let's go ahead and hop right into your top 5 singles players to watch.
Heck yeah, man. So my overall theme for this entire open is about location. We're up in the Northeast, and statistically, the Northeast and this Tiverton, Rhode Island Open has produced the number one overall open in terms of number of teams. Obviously, it was broken this year with the first open in Rock Hill, but before then, well, I think last year we set the record. There were, I think, a little over 300 doubles teams at the Tiverton, Rhode Island Open, which is just sick. Which goes to show that how good a lot of these local players are. So number one, Kyle Malone. You got to talk about Kyle Malone simply because last year in Tiverton, he won. He won open singles last year. So you know he likes the place. And until someone beats him in that building, he's got my number one pick. Move down the list, Jimmy Humans, obviously a local player.
Going to Kyle Malone real quick. I mean, he looked dominant there whenever we were in Tiverton. I was watching him play. I mean, whether he was playing in singles, doubles, blind draw, whatever he was playing, and he just looked relaxed, like he was just kind of barely releasing the bag. It was going all the way in there. The board conditions, I think, in Tiverton played well in his favor. Kyle Malone coming off a strong season last year. Obviously, the shootout championship. This is a different format, of course, but Kyle Malone, strong player. Will he repeat the season he had last year? We're kind of to be determined, I guess.
Yeah, I've had to play against him in open singles in Rock Hill a couple weeks ago, and didn't turn out too well. So you know he's got that dog in him. I think he's going to say hi. Moving into my number two slot, Jimmy Humans, a local pro from that New Jersey area. So not too far of a drive for him. He's been obviously one of the top tiered pros in the past couple of years as well. He always seems to excel at the big tournaments where he doesn't have to travel that far. So I'm thinking that Jimmy Humans has a chance to make a statement start to this season.
Do you think that the ball and chain is going to play a factor, though? I mean, Jimmy Humans is wifed up now. I mean,
I know.
sometimes you get in a relationship, and all of a sudden you start to kind of
I
relaxing your
like to
throw a
think
little
that
bit.
I don't know. I like to think that Jimmy's a little older, a little more mature than a lot of these young bucks who you start seeing getting girls and starting
Yeah,
to have
yeah.
their game falling off. So I'm not sure if it's going to affect him as much, but you
All
never
right,
know.
so you're up there in the Northeast as well.
Kind of, I guess
So
you can consider that. Yeah,
I mean, everything like I said, it's either Texas, Florida, California, or Northeast for me. So
that's fair. That's fair.
so I'm terrible at geography, by the way. But anyway, I mean, Jimmy Humans, do you think he is pretty much the one pro out in that area who's like kind of trying to defend his turf of the Northeast?
Man, I if him and I think I mean you got to put Tony Smith up there. While he's not at home a lot,
Yeah.
he still does represent the Connecticut area. And I think him and Jimmy are number one and number two up there
Okay.
until proven otherwise.
And I think Jimmy's playing with a chip on his shoulder this year as well. I know that he had a little bit of off-season, I guess, struggles and drama, as you could say. I mean, I feel like he had plenty of opportunities to earn, uh, earn the respect of everybody, especially coming off of that, perfect season the year before.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if people thought maybe he fell off or what. I think he still had a solid season, but yeah, I mean, I don't know why Jimmy had such a hard time in the offseason getting it. But you got two players on your list here with Kyle and Jimmy back to back who were partners last
Mhm.
year. But I think not returning with Kyle as his partner this year has kind of put a chip on his shoulder. So I'm with you. I
Yeah,
want to see what Jimmy can do up there.
especially with playing with rookie ACL pro Brady Foster this season, another local kid up in that
Mhm.
region. So they have some chemistry. I think he's going to be. I think he's going to take a new role of trying to be more of a mentor towards the kid, so they can make a really strong pro doubles run. And I think if he can stick with that mentor role and try to build him up and keep his Brady's confidence, I think they
Mhm.
have a really strong chance of being a top doubles team in the world.
Okay.
Moving on to number three, I got to give my boy Spencer Fabianar a shout out, the kid from the West Coast. And in my opinion, he is the best player in the state of California right now.
Oh,
The
okay.
dude is legit. Not just the best player in California. He's one of the best non-pros in the entire country. He has been traveling and he has been working like a dog these past few months to get where he is, and he deserves every bit of being on this list with all these players. And I think he's going to be able to keep that momentum going in the Tiverton Open.
Yeah, Spencer Fabianar is a player that I kind of had on my radar to watch this entire season. We were kind of all waiting to see what he was going to do in that conference qualifier, the last chance qualifier, whatever you want to call it. He was one of these players who we were keeping our eye on during the gauntlet last season. We were keeping our eye on him throughout the offseason to see if he was going to qualify because I believe California was like one of the last teams to have their qualifier to figure out who was going to be a pro. You see in the background there on my TV, Brotherhood is one of my sponsored, bag companies. So I was kind of keeping a close eye on him and Tony Forbes out in Iowa, and I got to say, man, they lived up to it. They were cutting everything. They were pretty much playing with confidence and reckless abandonment, and it worked out well for them. But I think
Yeah,
Tony Forbes is probably a little bit hotter right now. But I mean, Spencer
I,
was right up there with him.
yeah. I was gonna say if I had to make a list, I would put Spencer and Tony 1A 1B. Tony just was on a freaking
Yeah,
heater in Iowa a couple weeks ago. Happy for that kid. I
yeah.
met both of them at and actually I met number five as well. We'll talk about him later at Worlds in the teams event. They were both on my team, so I mean they're both great kids.
Okay,
It's hard to check. I just had to went with my gut. I took Spencer with this for this weekend.
I like it. I like it.
Moving down to number four, like I said earlier, we're staying local. Another local pro, another local stud, as you see in the picture, Jacob Trzynski. I feel like he's dropped off everybody's radars this season. You don't really see a lot of people talking about him in the way that they have in previous years. And I think this is the perfect opportunity for him to get back on those radars. I expect him to be hungry this weekend, also not too far of a drive, and I think he's going to make another deep run.
Yeah, I feel like this is the year of the smitten players. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I think the stat was 13.8 or like 15.8 or something like that percent of the teams are sticking together. An extremely low number as far as these players that are sticking with the same partner they had last season. Krasinski obviously picking up a good one there in Tanner Halbert. I'm curious to see how he does throwing the AAR bags and which ones he wants to go with. So seeing him in a singles capacity this year is going to be pretty exciting to watch his evolution as far as an overall player. But Trzynski, man, he plays with some passion. You see right there in the picture, man. He's always fired up. You give him a moment to get himself going. The only thing I saw last year that I didn't like out of Trzynski is he doesn't want to battle back when it's down. You know, we saw, I mean, it worked out for him. He got really mad on one of the national broadcasts and hit like 20 air mails in a row or
I do
whatever it
remember
was.
that, yeah.
But I mean, I want to see him play an entire game. I don't care if he loses 21-1. I want to see his mental game strengthen this season. So
Yeah.
good start
That's
here.
like that's a big thing for Jacobs is his frustrations, and I feel that with his new pro doubles partner this year,
Yeah.
Tanner Halbert, I think he's going to be able. I feel like Tanner's not going to let him get frustrated as he has in the past, and I feel like that could also turn over to how he plays in his singles game as well. I feel like he has a chance to stay more composed, more relaxed, and I think that could help him out in the long run.
Yep.
All right, moving on to number 5. Finally, I got to give this kid some credit. Navarro Dip. This kid's a stud. And I alluded to it a couple minutes ago, but the two best players right now in the state of Connecticut are Tony Smith and Navarro Dip. If you don't
Okay.
know who this kid is, you got to start learning. Like I said earlier, I met him at the World Championships last year in the teams event. We actually played together for a lot of our games, and he is phenomenal. He throws those sticky carpet bags. He has a pretty unique throw, but he is right down the middle every time. Already has a couple regional wins under his belt this year up in that Northeast area, and he's just getting started, and you got to look out for him this
Yeah.
weekend
Do you
too.
know his age?
I know he's young. I want to say between 14 and 16.
I thought he was 14 last year. That's why I was asking.
Yeah.
So if anybody in the chat knows his age, make sure you guys put that in the chat to help us out a little bit. But I believe Tiverton last year is when Navarro came on my radar. So there was a lot of storylines that came out of last season for the Open. One of them, I believe, was Landon Bass defeated Devin Hardball.
Yeah.
So Landon Bass, I don't know if he's going to be there or not. I didn't really get a chance to look too far into the registrations, but Navarro Dip was somebody that kind of came on my radar last season as far as out of nowhere, who's this guy? Look out for him. And I was really impressed, not just with him actually winning the matches, but how he was throwing in the matches. He looked composed for a 14-year-old or 15-year-old kid, whatever he was. And
yeah, never showed any emotion in any of the games that I played with him in, which is pretty cool, which is pretty unique for a young kid because you always see them wear their emotions on their sleeves. So for him to keep his composure like that goes a long way, especially when you play against the top pros in the world.
Yeah, so we got a few people in the chat commenting. Colin Hodet. I know Colin was one player that a lot of people told me to watch out for last season. It just didn't work out as far as getting him on the live feeds to take a peek at him. I have been kind of keeping my eye on his name in the brackets and stuff like that. So he'll be a player that I'm interested in watching this weekend.
At the last regionals last weekend up in the Northeast area is actually Navarro Dip sitting in the king seat, got triple dipped by Colin Hodet. So I know both of those players are pretty even right now.
All right, so it'll be exciting to watch. We'll take a quick break, chat. When we come back, we'll go through my singles list. Let us know what we're messing up. See you in a few. All right, ACL Nation, welcome back in another episode of ACL Live. We're breaking down open number 3, K9 and Jake Brandon here. We are kind of going over the list. We just got done with Jake's top 5 in singles. We'll get into mine here in just a second. Hardball in the chat says Colin is legit. Warmed up with him a few times. Heather wants to know if my hair is still fleekable. It is not. It's actually kind of nasty. It's basically coming off of a 10-hour drive back home from the Battle of the Queens. But it is still long enough to actually get it did up, as you say. But yeah, we're gonna have a good time. What up, Marissa? Welcome in. Just getting ready to get into my top 5 singles list. Here we go. Person on my top of my list, I mean, Tony Smith. We talked about it there in Connecticut, trying to defend the Northeast. Tony Smith is one of the players that everyone's got their eye on, coming off of basically his phenomenal finish last season. Switching bag companies is something I always get interested in whenever the players go into a new season. What bags are they going to do? How are they going to adjust? Are they going to switch between the lineups in different bags? Or are they going to kind of stay with one specific bag that they're going to throw? For the most part, it looks like I've seen Tony stick with the snipers. Very, very consistent. I did see at open number 1, there was a little bit of times where I saw the Mark Richards influence. It looked like Tony was doing a pretty good job of calming himself down, keeping himself composed. And then there was a couple times though where I saw it kind of slip away and like old Tony started coming back a little bit. In the finals against Alan Rawls, he was really, really confident until he wasn't. When something started going the wrong direction for him, I kind of saw some chinks in the armor. I think that's going to fade over time and Tony will get back to form. But I want to see the number 1 player in the world, Tony Smith, be the number 1 player in the world in Tony Smith, especially in the Northeast.
Yeah, I love this pick. You mentioned it, being from the Northeast, keeping that Northeast mentality. You don't have to go very far. But yeah, like you mentioned, I want to see how his frustrations will impact his game because
Mhm.
we always knew Tony throwing those sticky bags, especially if he starts losing. His number one go-to is to throw blocks, force his opponent to miss, and make some crazy shots to get back into the game. With him switching the bags, you see him throwing pro snipers a lot. That block isn't as always guaranteed or as easy to hit as it would have been with his previous bags. So we'll see if his game plan kind of changes throughout the season when he starts trailing in some games. Because, he has the capability of running bags, going hole for hole with everybody. But, I've heard him say multiple times that he just gets too boring. He doesn't like doing that. He likes to get a messy board. So we'll see if this bag switch, like you said, has any impact on that. But I still like Tony Smith a lot. I think he's going to make a deep run this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, another thing too is pushing through those combats. A lot of people are like, "No, I'm not trying to push through that." Pushing through. And matter of fact, I actually think last time in Tiverton is whenever Slinky season started. I think this is the first time they broke out those.
Oh, yeah.
What were they throwing last year? It wasn't combat. I don't tip my tongue
Um,
before I
c-
start
uh,
talking.
the um, the are you talking about the carpet bags they were throwing, or the
No, they
other
were
ones?
throwing last year, the big tones, whatever they were. Him
Oh,
and
the
him and Jake
convicts.
Krasinski threw the exact same with convicts. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I don't know. It's an interesting situation whenever you have a sticky bag player, and I still consider him a sticky bag player because
yeah,
all the
me too.
tricks he can do with it. But he's throwing a faster bag now. I want to see if that block is influential at all. Number 2 on my list, Emily Downer. She's another Northeastern player. Kind of want to keep an eye out on everybody Northeast and all things Northeast. She had a rough season last year, kind of hopping around with partners and just trying to find things that worked for her. This year, she's got a full season of being pro under her belt. I want to see how she rebounds and how she comes back in this next season. What her mentality is. Does she have that killer mentality now? I mean, she's one of the sweetest girls that we're ever going to meet. But I want to see her be a top female player. It's time. Whenever she won that Iowa Open with Jimmy Humans, I said she is the most well-rounded female player. I want to see her put it all together for an entire season now. Hopefully, there's no drama or anything like that from last season spilling over. I got high hopes for Emily this year.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I like what you said about getting past her rookie season. I feel like a lot of times rookies coming into this new type and new era of cornhole, being a professional, you may have some jitters, you may have some struggles to shake off throughout your rookie season, but now you're into season number 2, and you have more confidence than ever to do what you do well, and that's throw bags in the hole. I feel like Emily is a great pick. I feel like she has a really high ceiling this weekend, especially within the women's division. I feel like she can make a really strong run in not just women's, obviously, but in open singles as well. I'm excited to see what she does.
Yeah, actually, whenever I put her on my list, I was kind of just want to see her in singles. I wish I would have focused a little bit more on what females are showing up this last weekend. I know it's always kind of hard for them to travel back to back, or people to travel back to back to back. So I'm wondering if the Battle of the Queens is going to kind of make this
Yeah.
one get a little bit lower. Number three on my list, Joe Neested. We had Joe teaming up this year with Jordan Power and then going back to Titan bags. I feel like there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve going away from the Viper R's and going back to, I believe, the Venoms is what they were throwing the first time we saw them. So I want to see if Joe can adjust mentally. He looked a little frazzled last time I saw him in Iowa, and I want to see the confident Joe back. He was really confident whenever I went out to that Ohio tournament that Kimberly Glass ran, and I want to see if he can get back to that top form. We put him in the top 10. So far from what I've seen this season, I'm not putting him in my top 10. I don't know about you.
I don't know if I have or not, but I mean, I still do think he is somebody to look out for. I do believe that before a couple years ago when he switched over to Ultra, he was throwing Titan bags. I think I met him,
Yeah,
gosh, I think 3 years ago at the USA Cornhole Championships in Nashville, and I had to play against him, and he was throwing some weird Titan bag I'd never heard of before, and he just totally destroyed me. But yeah, no, if he can get that confidence back and if he can get that stroke back that he had at one point last year, I think he's going to be a force to reckon with, and he um, could be the winner. You never know. So I think he's
yeah.
a good pick.
Yeah, number four on my list. It's kind of weird. Usually, whenever you put people on your list, you know a lot about them. I'm not gonna lie. I'm coming this one kind of mediocrely blind with Owen Merrill. I don't really know too much about Owen Merrill, but I put him on my list because he's one of these players who filled out the K9 sponsorship form. His name keeps popping up in the chat as far as players to watch. I've seen his name in brackets go deep. So all right, here we go. You guys want me to watch Owen Merrill? Owen Merrill wants me to watch Owen Merrill. All right, I'm gonna watch Owen Merrill. So another north of, again, everyone in the Northeast for me, whether it's actually true or not. I don't know. I'm putting everyone in the Northeast. So Owen Merrill is a player who I want to see, shine this weekend in Tiverton. I mean, you're going to be out there commentating. I'll make sure that we try and get some matches for these youngsters, Colin Hodet, Owen Merrill, things like that. Navarro Dip. But yeah, I mean, I don't really expect too much insight from you on Owen Merrill, but I mean, what do you think about these youngsters that we want to see?
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, I feel like Owen Merrill, or a kid like Owen Merrill, or a kid like Colin Hodet, it's the perfect recipe to just make some really big noise this weekend. They're young studs. They're not really known to a lot of people outside of the region that they play in,
Hmm.
and we're going up to that region for a big, huge tournament. So this would be the perfect time and the perfect way for these kids to burst out onto the scene. I wouldn't be surprised if Owen Merrill or Colin Hodet or some of these other young kids from the Northeast region make a really strong run just because, this area is familiar to them. They're comfortable, and they're trying to prove the point that they belong in the conversation with some of the best in the world.
Yeah. Well, speaking some of the best in the world, one of the best commentators in the world in the Northeast, Chris Tornado, number 5 in my list. So Chris coming off of a couple pro seasons back to back. This season, not in the pro division. I want to see how he handles that. You know what I mean? There's two different things you can do basically. You can get rejected or feel rejected, or you can feel motivated. I don't know if I get the impression that Tornado wants to come back to being a pro. I know he's heavily involved doing the Woo Hole Cornhole live feeds and stuff. I gave him an opportunity to commentate this weekend. He said he wanted to focus on doing the woo hole stuff. I want to see if he wants to focus on throwing bags again. I want to see if he's got that drive to go back in the pro division, or if he was just okay with how things went and how it finished off. I want to see what version of Tornado we're going to get going forward.
Yeah, I feel like Tornado has a really high potential if he invests into it. However, I feel like at times when you see Tornado like playing and he's more worried about commentating or interacting with his Wuhole fans, which I mean isn't necessarily a bad thing. But like you said,
Yeah.
if you don't have that drive to become a pro, I mean it's not really worth it. So I am also curious to see if he comes out to this weekend more invested in throwing, considering this is also his area as well, and making a deep run.
Yeah, I mean, Tornado. We love Tornado no matter what.
Yeah,
No matter what the chat says, on or off. I mean, but we are all in the kind of the same boat, man. I mean, whenever you start commentating, you start throwing bags. It's hard to do everything, and not
yeah.
necessarily even if you're working the event, your mind isn't all the way in on the cornhole tournament. Like I know you're going to get to play this weekend a little bit. It's going to be hard for you to focus entirely on just throwing without taking a peek over the live feed court and seeing if there's anything you could do to help out or stuff like that. You're just mentally not the same whenever you have a job to do and then you get to go throw some bags.
Yeah, no, I mean, as much as I hate to admit it, I mean, I was that same way, at the World Championships too. I had to worry about broadcasting all weekend, but I was able to, uh, get rid of that focus for just a little bit. I ended up winning my advanced singles bracket at Worlds, and obviously I made that big run in the pro qualifier. But it's always still in the back of your head, especially when you have like it's not and it's not just broadcasting. It's like anything else you have to do outside of there, whether it's like talking to other people or anything like that. There are a lot of distractions that can get in your way, and that can affect your gameplay.
Yeah, I mean, there's the other side of it too is like people expect more from us because now we're bigger names. You know,
Yeah,
we step up to the board. They're like, "Oh man, go easy on me." I'm like, "Dude, who am I? I'm just a commentator." You know what I mean? Jamie Graham said, "You're not bad for a commentator." I mean, we talked about Shaquille Maxey. Give me compliments this weekend, but it's like we can't focus on improving our craft any more than we can. The time allows us to, and right now it's really hard for it. So I know Tornadoes wanting to grow the page, but let's go Tornado. Let's have fun this
let's
weekend.
go. Let's have a
All
run.
right, chat. That's it for singles. Let us know who we missed. See Frank Vrone and Brady Foster checking in, Hunter Thorson as well. Let us know who you
Yeah,
guys
boys.
want us to watch in doubles. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get into Jake's top doubles teams.
Let's go.
All right, ACL Nation and Ian Nixon, welcome back in. Ian Nixon really wants to get on the live feed, so there you go. There's your shout out, Ian. I was looking for you in the signups, but I couldn't figure out how to spell your name, man. It's really tricky. Otherwise, I would have put you on my list. But we just got done going through the singles list. We're going to head over to the doubles list. Let's go ahead and dive right into it. Jake, here are your doubles players you want to watch.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one. Number one, I mean, this is pretty obvious. Tony Smith, Mark Richards, two of the one of the biggest, most hyped teams ever coming into a pro season. And I'll be honest, disappointing in their first
Okay.
open event together in Rock Hill. Not very good at all. Didn't live up to either of those two standards on what they want to do. So I'm looking for a big bounce back in a big way here this weekend. That's pretty much it. There's not much to talk about with these two of the greatest in the game. They didn't perform well their first time they played together. Give it a bounce back here in Rhode Island.
Yeah, I really didn't put too much expectation on them early. I mean, it's really, really hard to get that chemistry, even if it's just leading up to a tournament. I mean, I kind of talked about it before in some of the other shows, like getting ready for the tournament, talking to your partner about heading into the tournament. What are we going to wear? Are we going to match? What bags are we going to throw? All this type of stuff that leads into the tournament. That all just comes with chemistry and time. You can't basically sign a contract, boom, all of a sudden expect to be best friends and have the vibes and stuff like that. I do like the connection that I see sometimes with like Tony Smith and like Hunter Thorne and even Jake and Tony last year. It's going to take a while for Tony and Mark to get to that, level. Get the hand signals with patting on the head when they're shooting air mail, stuff like that. I don't really have too much of a worry as far as Mark and Tony goes until we get into January. If they don't have any wins by January, then I'm gonna start to worry with you. But yeah, definitely want to watch them this weekend. I think there's gonna be one or two matches with them in the live feed. I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I also think if they don't perform well this weekend, I also think we should start putting a little, maybe at least one red flag on that team. I mean, just because last year they were two top 10 players in the world in
Hmm.
singles, so yeah, you have to think they pair them together. They have to do well.
Well, let me ask
Now,
you
sorry,
this: whenever we had the pairing announcement with Matt Guy and Jamie Graham, we were all kind of like, "Wow, that's going to be unstoppable." Did you get the same vibe with Mark and Tony when they made the announcement?
absolutely,
You did.
almost
Okay.
to a higher level, I would say.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely. I mean, it's also different. I mean, Matt Guy that season was a rookie, so we didn't see him as much as we saw Tony Smith and Mark Richards last year. But we know what we were getting out of Jamie Graham, and I feel like this team is just as hyped, if not should be more hyped than that Matt Guy Jamie Graham team a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I like the names. I like the skills. I just think that chemistry goes a little underrated sometimes.
That's fair. We'll have to see. Moving to number two, this is an interesting team for me. Hunter Thorne, Fisher Hamilton. Strong, dominating team. They have compatible play styles. They have compatible bag choices. Yeah, one of the very first times I've ever seen them team up together. I think they're a dangerous team. I think they are a tough team to beat. They may be my entire pick to win the whole thing. Let me see how it plays out after
Whoa.
rounders. But yeah,
Okay.
like on paper, this team looks dangerous, especially with Hunter. I don't know if he's still in that boot, but if he is still in that boot, I think they're going to be even more dangerous.
I was just gonna say, man, you got to give credit to the boot. Hunter Thorne looked really, really good in Iowa. I mean,
Yeah.
I was kind of like, oh no, one of my sponsored players goes down. It's gonna be hard to kind of get back to form, but he didn't miss a beat. He might even look better. But Fisher Hamilton to me has been someone who I think is there, man. I don't want to spoil my show Wednesday, but you guys want to tune in Wednesday and see where I have him on my list as far as top 25 players. I think he's got it all kind of figured out right now. Still see a little bit of the what, how'd that happen out of him that I want that to go away. I want him to kind of develop a little bit more of the Hunter Thorne style, where it's kind of like, hey, but you made one and it's fine. He could brush stuff off, and I think Fisher can learn a little bit from Hunter. I like this little sneaky pairing. I might be with you as far as winning the whole thing. We'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. I also had the ability to talk a lot with Fisher Hamilton. He was our guest pro on the one of the stops on the ACL College tailgate tour earlier this season, and getting to actually like sit down for 15, 20 minutes and actually pick his brain about his thought process and what he's thinking through and stuff like that. It was actually pretty interesting, and it made me respect his game that much more because you always, from the outsider's perspective, Fisher Hamilton's such a quiet dude. He never says a word, but once you break open that outer shell, he's awesome dude to talk to, and I was excited to be able to talk to him for a little bit.
Yeah.
Moving on, number three. This is probably my most exciting, my favorite team that I'm going to be looking out for this weekend. Moses' way to Braden Wilson. I am pumped for this team. Uh, Rookie Braden Wilson looks to make a huge splash while Moses tries to get back into the spotlight. That's like my tag for this team right here. Braden, just absolutely number one junior player last year. Got his ACL Pro bid because of that. Moses has been in the spotlight before. He had a really good string of tournaments last year. But I also feel like he started to take a little bit of a step back from that spotlight. I'm hoping this tournament can put him back in that spotlight. Playing with Braden Wilson, it's going to be another interesting pairing.
Yeah. Now this is gonna be a breakout, man. These guys are gonna shine. It's an all Buffalo team right now. Moses is one player I got my eye on this season. I think his personality is amazing. I think he's bringing all the right things to the table. I think Braden matches him on the other side, both in skill and basically a momentum swings, basically with how they psych their partners up and stuff like that. So I want to see this in action. If you guys don't get this on the live feeds, man, I'm gonna be cussing you guys out all weekend.
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to make it happen. Moving on, number four, another interesting team, Frank Barona, Austin Kipple. Frank Barona, a lot of you in the chat were talking about him earlier in the singles rankings. I didn't put him on my singles list, but I did give him some credit on the doubles list. Playing with Austin Kipple, who it's another name that a lot of people don't know, but I have the fortune of knowing him pretty well because he lives close to me. I see him play a lot. He's been one of the hottest non-pros in the entire country. He's already won a number of regionals so far this year. Uh, Finished one, I think, what, 3 or 4 points away in the gauntlet last year. Did won his advance? I'm pretty sure he won his advanced singles bracket at Worlds too. Kid's legit. With rookie ACL pro Frank Verona, look out for this team.
Yeah, two young studs right here. Frank Verona, obviously, you guys know how much I appreciate Frank Verona and his skill. He's thrown really, really well this year so far to start this season. Austin Kipple finished very, very strong at the end of last season. This is an interesting pairing to keep your eye on. This could be one of those bracket buster teams.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, moving on to number 5. I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent for just 1 second. Gage Landis, Austin Cameron. This is a really interesting team. Gage Landis has been stroking ever since Worlds. Another kid that I see a lot playing with me recently. He's won multiple regionals already. Austin Cameron is my interesting factor. I'm going to get on a little bit of a soapbox here for a second. He's another rookie trying to make a statement. And I really hope he's watching because I want him to use this as bulletin board material. Because with where he's at right now, this is not the best Austin Cameron that I have seen. It's not the best Austin Cameron that we as viewers can see. I haven't been super impressed with him. So I'm hoping he sees this and it lights a fire under his butt. I know he has the potential to be a top 15, top 20 player in the world, but with how he's playing right now, I haven't seen that. And I really want him to use this as something to spark a fire and get going because I really do think he has the top potential.
Yeah, well, Austin Cameron, he's one of my boys. I love Austin Cameron. I think he's got some of the best um, sticky back skills, I guess, is what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say in the entire pro division. I love him engaged teaming up here because they're both kind of similar style players. I hope that Austin's not really getting sucked into all this rookie hype. Last year in Tiverton, I believe Austin only lost to Braden Wilson. Those two were just absolutely incredible in singles. I like this pairing between Gage and Austin here heading into doubles, but I just hope he's not buying into all this, rookie hype with everyone else's name except for his, because I think Austin Cameron, let's say if he comes in the pro division next year, he's probably the top pro that we're talking, or the top rookie pro
Yeah,
that we're talking about. You know what I mean? Just getting kind of overshadowed right now by all the other names that are coming along with him, but the skill set's definitely there.
absolutely.
All right, cool. So good list there, Jake, with your double squad. We'll come back here in a little bit, chat with my top 5 doubles to watch. It's the best list you guys have ever seen. Don't go anywhere. Be right back right after this. All right, chat. What up? Welcome back into ACL Live. K9 and Jake Brandon here. We're going to finish up our list of players and teams to watch for Open number 3 in Tiverton, Rhode Island this weekend. Again, I'll be heading up to Badgerland Bag Brawl in Wisconsin. So Jake and Chase will be on the mic and the producer station, I guess, for this weekend. So make sure you guys tune in. Show them the same amount of love you guys have shown me. You guys have been phenomenal to me. These guys are going to be rocking it out there. I got all the faith in the world for them. Let's dive into my doubles list. Top players to watch here. You kind of talked about them already in singles. Devin Harbaugh and Kyle Malone are my top team to watch. I feel like Devin and Kyle are on everyone's radar as possibly being the number one team in the world at the end of this season. Right up there with Mark and Tony. Just basically pick your poison. Who you getting? You got your usual suspects, obviously JBJ, Logan, Gavin and Fisher, stuff like that. Eddie and KB. But I mean, Devin and Kyle are players that we're going to watch this entire season and think that they should take down a bracket 2, 3, 4, 5. The question is, how many times are they going to play together? This is a good opportunity for them, though, to start making their mark. I think all things are kind of gearing up. If I remember correctly, Devin took down his bracket last season in Tiverton. Kyle did the same thing. Obviously, you said Kyle won it in singles. So them teaming up here for this Open in Tiverton, man, it could be the start to their phenomenal season.
Yeah, I mean, this was the other really strong pro doubles team we were watching besides Tony Smith and Mark Richards, Devin Harbaugh, Kyle Malone. Really excited to watch them play. They didn't play together in Rock Hill, so this is really the first time I've had the ability to see them play together. It's gonna be fun. I'm curious about the bag selection with Ultra. It's a little bit of a curious selection, but obviously these players are good enough to where bag selection doesn't really matter. Really high ceiling, shouldn't have a problem making a deep run this weekend.
Yeah, and earlier you got called out for not putting Chase or by Chase Hunter for not putting Gavin on your list. So there you go.
Yeah.
I got you. I got your back. Gavin Cano and Caleb Batson teaming up for this one. Two strong players. Obviously, KB, one of the hottest players last season. Gavin Cano, a rising star, I think has top 10 potential written all over them. Teaming up for this one here. I like when they kind of mix and match like this. It's still that Texas pride, still some top tier talent. I expect a lot of noise out of KB and Gavin this weekend.
Yeah, I'm really not curious. I'm really excited about this team as well. KB, Gavin, these two Texas blue bloods. I'm almost going to go on a limb and say I think I may like this pairing more than I like KB with Eddie. Gavin
Really?
has just been so consistent recently. I mean, I can't imagine them losing a game this weekend. That team looks scary.
Yeah, you kind of got to give a little tip of your cap to Texas right now. You can basically put one Texas person there and mix and match like a whole bunch of other Texas people, and you'd be like, I like that team. You know what I mean?
Right?
so,
Yeah,
so
100%.
so kudos to them. There's Chase. Says, there you go. I got you, bro. I got your Texas love. All right. So team number 3 on my list, man, they won the whole thing last year, and it doesn't seem like they're getting enough love for it. Cameron D'Ambrosio and Berkeley Pair, I believe they were throwing the Dirty Dragons last season. Whenever they won this tournament, kind of was like, what bags are these? I want to take a look at them. And I talked to Daniel Labbert right after, and he was like, hey, I'll get you a set. Boom. Sure enough, man. Mailed them out to me a couple days later. Appreciate that. But Cameron D'Ambrosio, obviously, you see there with a strong USA cornhole showing at Worlds, one of the strongest players up in this Tiverton location. Again, everybody's in northeast for me. I don't care where they actually live. And then Berkeley Perryman, underrated, just ridiculously lights out last year in Tiverton. This probably could be his home turf, like Alan Rawls was defending Winter Haven. I want to see Cameron and Berkeley run it back and do some damage.
Yeah, I remember the vibe in the sports center after they had won, and we were all kind of just like, huh? Because I don't think
Yeah.
anybody
No.
even remotely thought about Cameron D'Ambrosio and Berkeley Pair being in the finals, but then not only being in the finals, but winning. I mean, absolutely comes as a surprise, but that just goes to show anybody can play, anybody can win. Back in the same place they won it last year, I think they're going to make another strong run. I mean, Berkeley was on the map last year, but Cameron
Yeah.
may not have been. But now both players are. They're not going to be, a kind of swipe off the shoulder kind of team to mess around with. I think they're going to make another good run.
Yeah, Cameron was one of these players that we came up. I think I went up to him after he won. I was like, "Congratulations, man!" I said, "Did you feel like you had it?" He's like, "I still don't know what happened, man. It's all surreal." He's like, "I was just kind of in another world." He's like, "I still don't really believe it." So, yeah,
Yeah.
Believe it, man. You're good. Believe in yourself. You're really good. And run it back with Berkeley, man. I think Berkeley's gonna be a good influence on him. All right, number 4 on my list, we kind of talked about the ladies coming from the Battle of the Queens. Maddie and Tony both making their trip back from this last weekend. I want to see Maddie McBride have a deep run, not only in women's singles, but in women's doubles as well. Tony Sposato is someone who I know is putting in the work. She's starting to knock off some big names. She's starting to throw us some big names. She's actually becoming a big name herself. I want to see these ladies team up, have some fun, keep the vibes going in a positive direction, and start putting some points on the board, and then just kind of enjoying the process along the way. Maddie McBride, obviously one of the strongest players in the female division, just kind of needs a little bit more recognition. So here you go.
Yeah, Maddie McBride, I feel like has been one of the big household names in the women's division in professional cornhole within the past couple of years. But Tony Sposato has kind of burst onto the scene. I haven't had a chance to actually like talk and have a conversation with her before, but I've seen her around. I've seen her on the boards these past few months, and she has been very impressive. I like this team a lot. It's a sneaky pick. Both players I feel like they would play well together. I'm not really sure the back selection they would go with, but I definitely think you need to keep your eye out for these two.
Yeah, I can't remember. I feel like Tony's throwing sorcerers, and I believe Maddie throws either sorcerers or wizards too. So I feel like it
Perfect.
really wouldn't be that big of a learning curve for
Yeah,
the two ladies there. I'm not
I
sure how
agree.
this pairing came to be. I saw Maddie's mom in the chat earlier saying that they were on their way, either on their way to Tiverton or they're going to be there at Tiverton. But I didn't really see what I wanted to see out of Maddie this last weekend. I expected her to be deep in the finals, especially in a women's only field. And her and Lexi teamed up. They didn't really have a good run in doubles. But I don't know. I want to see where Maddie's head and skill level are at right now because I expect her to make a splash in the ACL at some point. She kind of already did a couple years ago. I want to know when she's going to basically stick and stay.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, number 5 on my list, man. I'm not going to lie. I have no idea what to expect out of them. I expect big things. They're big names. I've seen great things. I just don't know how they're going to work as a pair. I mean, I know they throw together before. Adam Hister and Trey Birchfield, two of the strongest names in the ACL. Adam, obviously, one of the biggest personalities in the ACL. Trey, not so much. But as far as skill level goes, I mean, the dude's elite, man. Former world champion. Adam Hissner's been around the game in a long time. I don't know if I've seen them throw the bags this year. I believe they're both through Titan now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know what they're going to throw as far as Titan bags go. We talked about it before, though, with the skill levels that these players are at right now. Really doesn't matter what they throw; they'll be able to find a way to make it happen. It's just kind of weird not seeing Adam Hissner teamed up with Cody Henderson anymore. But if we're going to see anything out of this team, I think it's going to have to start right here in Tiverton.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I feel like this team is the most confusing out of the entire field, you know what I mean? Adam, like you mentioned, has that huge personality, will yell and scream after every bag is thrown, and then you'll see Trey on the other end, who will be lucky to say 5 words the entire game. So I'm curious to see how that chemistry and those relations bounce off each other. I feel like it could either really work or it could work not so well. But I feel like this event is a good starting spot. I'm going to be excited to be able to walk around and watch how they interact with each other. Because if I'm sorry, if Adam can get Trey talking and get him comfortable and get him going, that's a dangerous team. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Adam is I think Adam sometimes kind of wants to see how his joke is hitting with the crowd a little bit more. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And I
absolutely.
saw this last year in Badgerland whenever he was playing against, I think it was Nico in like the singles finals. Like he's wanting to make sure that the crowd is enjoying his jokes. And it's all fun and games, man, but I want to see him focus the entire time.
Yeah,
And I feel like he's gonna crack some jokes. Trey Birchfield's gonna be on the other end, just kind of crack a smile, you know. But I want to see how they actually interact bag wise, throwing bags, how they feed off of each other. Do they motivate each other? Do they just kind of you handle your end, I handle my end? I don't know what to expect. The one thing I do have to say though is that the best version of Trey Birchfield that I've ever seen, obviously outside of him winning the championship, was in I believe Chicago playing against Tony Smith, and it was at a national, I believe, a bracket final. And Trey was actually firing himself up. Trey
yeah,
would hit a push and he'd be like, "Come on, man, you want this?" or "How bad do you want?" or something like that. And he was just talking himself up the entire time. So if Adam can bring that version out of Trey, where Trey is going to get fired up and start putting bags in the hole and getting into the moment a little bit more and just kind of understanding what it is, I like the pairing. But again, I'm just curious, man. I got no expectations on this one. They could be either really, really good or they could be really bad. I don't know.
Yeah,
Um,
100%. If you can get if Adam can get Trey talking, get him fired up, I feel you're gonna see that team start soaring up the power rankings in just a matter of time.
yeah. So, all right, man, kind of winding down chat. How did we do? What did we miss out on?
Oh man,
Mike wants
that
to know
hour flew
any
by.
idea on the team count. Do you have the team count you said, or you don't know?
I can pull it up real quick. Let me
Yeah.
grab this. Let me grab the doc real quick.
Yeah, we'll check. We'll check on that in a second. A few sleeper teams from
Um,
Texas. Did we talk about Mladenka? Medenka? I think it's Eddie and Medenka, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, so Caleb Medenka is somebody I was going to put on my list. I just didn't have a spot to put him. I don't really know anything about him. I don't think he came to my station during the showcase. I've heard great things about him. I've heard a lot of Texas players talking great things about him. I was listening to the Off the Board show with AJ Sims and Felix Vargas and Jaime Sanchez and Anthony, and they were all kind of talking up Caleb Medenka. I know he came through the qualifier, had a good run. I know Chase can provide a lot of insight onto Caleb this weekend, but they were an honorable mention for me.
Okay,
A few other people that I think we talked about already, Colin Hodette and stuff like that.
nice. Yeah, according to the sheet, I'm not sure how often it updates, but we have 231 doubles teams registered as of right now.
Okay, yeah. So last year, I know there was a lot of last minute signups. You guys still
Yeah.
can pretty much walk up and sign up. There's not going to be the same numbers that we had last year. But it's still going to be a huge crowd. It's still going to be a huge, event for Tiverton. If it's anything like last season, it's just going to be awesome. So we don't usually do this on this show, but I figure since it's your first time on here, I'm gonna go ahead and put you on the spot, man. Give me your winner. Who was going to win singles? Who was going to win
Oh
doubles?
shoot, you are putting me on the spot.
Yeah.
Um, look, I mentioned it when I was going through my doubles list. I feel like this team has the potential, if they can find it, if they stay where they are, they have the potential to not even lose one game. I'm going to take Hunter Thorne and Fisher Hamilton.
Okay.
I think
Interesting.
that team. I think it's an
I'm
interesting
going.
team. I think it'd be dangerous.
I'm going to the other side of the Hamilton Kano pairing. I'm taking Kano and Batson to
Oh
take
man,
this
that's
one
that's a
down.
good pick too.
Yeah. All
So
right. What do you got
we
for
agree that
singles?
Texas for singles, man, it's tough. Gosh. I mean, like I mentioned it, like I'm gonna go back to my list. Like he won it last year, and until he gets beaten in that building, I'm gonna stick with him. Give me Kyle Malone.
It's so funny, man. We're not even like synchronized. We didn't go over this or nothing. I'm actually going the opposite side of that. I'm taking Devin Harbaugh. So so I'm gonna take
That's
Harbaugh
funny.
over Malone. You're gonna take Hamilton
Okay.
over Kano. So we're kind of dividing the teams here.
Yeah.
It's gonna be fun regardless. There's Caleb in the chat. What up, guy? What up, Bubba? Welcome in. I'll be watching this weekend.
Yes,
All right,
sir.
though. Hope you guys have enjoyed the content, man. If you do, make sure you hit the thumbs up on the way out. Make sure you tune in this weekend. Again, show Jake and Chase the same love that you guys have shown me.
Yeah.
I'll
Come
be
say
live
hi if you're
elsewhere.
there.
Yeah, for sure. Interact,
I'll be
mingle,
there.
guys. Don't be afraid. We're just normal people after all, man. I mean, we look like celebrities, but we're not.
I mean, Wally is. I mean, look at
I
Wally's camera
am.
quality, and then look at my camera quality.
Hey,
I'm
we'll
just
get
an
you.
average guy.
We'll
I mean,
get you there,
listen.
man. This is episode 1 for you. So we
I
got you
know, right?
broke in nicely. All right, chat. We're gonna head out. Enjoy the content this weekend. It's more than a game. It's a family. See you guys later. Keep
I
going.
like that. See you guys.